Welcome to the BXG podcast where pop culture and nerd culture meet at the nexus of the universe and are melded as seamlessly as scientist assassins and ginger penises. I am one of your hosts, N.E. Pennypacker, alongside my co-host, importer exporter, Art Vandalay.
Pennypacker?
Vandalay.
How are we doing?
Oh my God, I almost choked.
It's so good. Oh man.
That is
how you doing?
That's a cold open right there.
It is a great cold open.
I almost choked to death on my water just from you laughing. It wasn't even that funny. It was just you laughing. I'm good.
That moment, the moment in the show just kills me.
Oh my gosh. What how's Greg Philson, co-host of the BXG podcast tonight?
Greg's okay. It's a little crazy at work today. The phone didn't stop ringing, so I still have I feel like I have tinnitus just in my ear constantly right now. But I'll survive.
Release today?
No, it's students, it's kids. It's parents calling because their kids are back in school and they're trying to get all these books, and it's lovely that teachers assign books that are out of print. So it's just editions are out of print. So, right. Other than that, doing all right. How are you?
Can't complain. I mean, I guess I could. Tomorrow is the one Friday a month I actually have to work. So
that's a bummer.
It's a huge bummer for me.
Jeez.
One Friday of the month that I have to work. BXG podcast publishes every Friday at 9 a.m. on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and other podcast services around the globe. Official BXG social media accounts, facebook.com/BXG podcast, Instagram at BXG podcast, Twitter at BXG podcast, Instagram at GTFills at Y2B, Twitter at GTFilson at Y2B, plus the YouTube channel where posting at the same time as this tomorrow will be our trailer reaction for Spider-Man No Way Home. I almost said Far From Home. It'd be a little late for that. But
why not though?
Yeah, why the hell not? We should go back and do old trailers, like the Jurassic Park trailer.
That'd be cool. What?
We last Tuesday we posted part 1 of the MCU in review, phase 3 part 1. Next Tuesday will be part 2. We've already recorded it, so it's going out. It's good to go. It gets a little dusty.
It does
at times. We wax a little poetic. When it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and everything that happened. But we do have some Marvel tonight. We're going to follow up on the Jeopardy situation. Obviously the challenge. We've got some music reviews, the season finale of the Summer of George, and some just sort of pop culture potpourri. So we begin with topic number 1. What If? Marvel's What If, the animated anthology series. And let me tell you, Greg, there was an idea to bring together a remarkable group of people.
There was.
So they started getting murked up by an unknown killer. Tony Stark, Thor, Clint Barton, Bruce Banner, and Natasha Romanoff are all killed in a mysterious way. And Nick Fury is left to deal with the fallout, including retribution from Asgard in the form of Loki himself. Due to the final clue given before Natasha was murdered, he realizes the villain is none other than Hank Pym, ravaged and driven mad by the death of S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Hope Van Dyne. Hank, in the yellow jacket suit, attacks Fury, only to be thwarted by the uneasy alliance of Loki and Fury, Nicholas J. Episode 3 of What If?
It was crazy. like, and we were talking about like, we hope this gets crazier or whatever, you know, every episode is like another level of crazy. I don't watch the previews for these. I don't want to
Right.
know
Yeah.
what episode I'm getting at all. I want to, like, I put it on very early Wednesday morning, either right before my run or right after my run. I watch it. This episode flew by, number one. It was so fast. It was funny to me how quick it was, but it was just, okay, let's just kill all the Avengers.
Yeah.
And it was like a good idea. The way I wasn't sure, you know, obviously we weren't sure until it was, until we've realized it's Hank Pym. But it was a cool way to do it, because you're like, who could this be? You know, all these things going awry that just normally would not go awry with these Avengers. And so I thought it was an interesting episode. It was like, it wasn't fun. Like, I thought the first two were fun. This one was more like kind of intense, and it had funny moments, but it was sort of funny to me. It's like, I love the Tony Stark sitting on the donut. I thought that was funny. And there were, of course, like funny moments. Like I said, the whole Thor thing was really funny.
Yes, very funny.
But it was just like, oh, this is sort of weird. They're just all dying. And then, it's the way it ends up is, funny with Captain America and Captain Marvel. But that's just, it was not what I was expecting. I like not watching a preview. I like not knowing at all what to expect. So I don't even formulate a plot. So I like the direction this goes. I feel like each episode is a little bit better. So far for me, at least, just because this one was just so off the wall crazy.
Right. Yeah. I was expecting to like the Chadwick Boseman episode the best. Really sight unseen. That was just going to be my favorite episode. Right. But I actually think I like this one a lot more. And it had a lot to do with a lot of the different elements. But I'll be honest with you, when I just saw the description like written out, I was like, oh, I don't want to, especially on the heels of having watched all these Marvel movies. I was like, I don't want to watch this. But I buckled down and I watched it, and I actually really enjoyed it. And I think that part of it was the humor really hit in this, and it was all kind of just focused on like how pretty Thor is.
Yes.
Which is like, starting in Infinity War, it kind of became like a thing, whenever they're talking about how he looks like if a pirate had a baby with an angel.
Pirate angel.
Coulson saying like, even while he's rotting, he smells like lilacs.
Lavender.
Lavender. That's
lavender.
What it was.
Yeah.
Lavender. Yeah.
And then like when he ends that scene, he smells again too. That was it was a good Coulson episode, because he does his passwords like "I love Cap" or something like that.
Yeah, it was like really funny. Steve. Yeah.
Yeah. That.
One of the things that I really liked about this, here's the two things that I really liked, aside from those instances of humor, was this actually melded three movies very well together. You had the Iron Man 2 parts, you had the Thor part, and then the Hulk, where he's at the university and gets attacked, kind of all mingling with each other in a very cool way. So I like that. And then I like the fact that I had no idea who it was.
Yeah, no.
Or how they're dying and even after she's like, how somebody that died 2 years ago accessing these files, my initial thought was it's the Wasp and she faked her death. But then when it's Hank and he looks crazy, he's got crazy eyes in the cemetery scene at the very end. I thought it was a nice touch that they brought in like not only did they bring in Loki, but they brought in like Lady Sif and the Warriors 3 and the Destroyer and the whole Asgardian army and everything. And him like posing like he wants revenge, but we all know Loki could give a shit less about what happened to Thor. So that was kind of amusing. But I liked this episode because it wasn't like over the top funny like the second episode was, but it also wasn't completely predictable like the first episode was. So I think that this was definitely a step in the right direction. Yeah, I thought the action was good. The animation, I love the animation of this show.
I love the animation. Slick. Yeah, it looks super cool. That is one of the things about this is like you're just excited to watch it because it does look cool. It's funny that I mean, I don't know if we want to compare it to the live action stuff, but it's cool that they decided to do this kind of after 3 series instead of maybe in the middle or whatever.
Right.
Of the big original 3 like series of this. I haven't been disappointed yet. It was like they kind of knew to start it with the easy way out with Captain America, I think, is like the easy storyline, and then the rest of them get a little weirder each time. And yeah, I'm very stoked about what is going to be in the future for this, because I really think it's going to be a lot of fun and pretty gnarly.
Yeah, I think it just gets, like I said last week, I think it just gets weirder and weirder, and I think that's going to be like pretty excellent moving forward. I saw something, and this is sort of tangential, but I saw a rumor online, and if it's true, then I'm going to be just 110%, just maybe even just done with Marvel. And it was like, high ranking leakers say that the villain of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is going to be Wanda, which we kind of knew that, right?
Yeah.
But that she fights Professor X, and that she fights Captain Carter from the What If. I don't want like they've said, like, this is canon, like this is canon because of the multiverse thing or whatever. I do not like it. You want to say that, that's fine, but these characters need to stay in these shows.
Yeah.
We don't need that bleeding into the actual continuity.
No, we don't need that. I also say, like, a lot of these high level people were speculating in all these shows and got it wrong just as much as we did.
Right.
So
maybe even more.
Maybe even worse. So I'll believe that kind of stuff when it actually happens. I can't imagine them. It'd be just so off the wall.
I don't think we're going to see X-Men stuff in phase 4, like, at all.
No,
I don't think so either.
It might be, what it'll probably be is the end of phase 4 will be the lead in to X-Men. I'm guessing that would be my best guess on something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. But in the here and now, this is really fun. Fun.
I like this. Just don't integrate it into the movies. Like,
no, we don't.
Absolutely. Like, I know it's canon, but don't make it seem like it's
like
absolute freaking canon, real canon. Make it fun sideways canon, but not. I don't need this.
Just like the comics are.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what, like, it's a reason it's what if, not this is. It is.
This is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But more Marvel, from us, like you said, with our phase, or our last phase, part 2, just to go back on that. So do listen to that. Just another plug for that, because we can't talk enough about that. But we will move on away from Marvel into something with a lot more controversy. Jeopardy host steps down. After our coverage last week, as well as little-known website The Ringer, Mike Richards has opted to step down as the full-time host of Jeopardy. The scandal that embroiled the host, not only for using slurs and sexist remarks on his podcast in 2013, also had the hiring process a bit muddled. In the interim, Mayim Bialik will serve as the host of the show, but the search goes on. Interestingly enough, Richards will be acting as producer of the show. And also, it just came out today that people are upset about Mayim Bialik being the host because she's made questionable statements about vaccinations and stuff. So it's this is a disaster.
She's going to step down at 10:30 this Friday after we.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a coincidence. I'm here to tell you.
We put out a podcast. Yep.
We
called it out.
Put them on blast. Put them on Front Street.
Yep. I mean, people may refer to the Ringer story, but we know what happened. That story had been out for 36 hours. We were out for 40 minutes or whatever, and boom, it happened. So take it for what it is, people. It's just, it sounds weird, but like, now I just don't care. I'm actually at a point where it's just like, you guys, you F this up from the beginning by letting this guy do this. And now it's just chaos when you probably, I know that Ken Jennings is what it is, like, on that would have just been so easy. Yeah.
Or LeVar Burton.
Or LeVar Burton, which, I've heard mixed reviews on him. I honestly, like I said, Aaron Rodgers was the one that I just wanted, but it's if you're gonna, the easy route was just to go Ken Jennings and whatever. It's whether
and now
he
the
was that
fan
good
route is to go LeVar.
Yeah.
And then I would add with that that also kind of I hate to say this shit because it sounds bad saying it, but it like fills there's how many minority people of color game show hosts are there? It's like Steve Harvey and like Wayne Brady pops up every now and again. But to give a black man the host of Jeopardy would be a big deal. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know. It's weird to show it. This wasn't the thing that's kind of surprising me about this. This wasn't surprising that Alex Trebek, passed.
No, it was going to happen.
They had all
eventually.
the time, right? They had all the time in the world to figure this out and like probably asked him what he thought and all this stuff. And then they like dropped the ball so hard in such a like gross way where it's like, I'll just hire myself. And it's bad. It's a bad look for like the company in general. Yeah.
They let this guy just weasel his way in there. And
when you go back and you go from what we said, what we reported via the Ringer, but what we reported was he's been doing this for a while, this kind of weaseling thing and how he's just, so the guy's a weasel. It's weird that this happened. I want it to be over with like someone that just is, everybody probably has controversy to some degree, I guess, but because you're going to dig up something, but just, we need to move on, Jeopardy, please.
Yeah. Just get somebody in there that's not like too controversial at this point and let's go, So we wish he's too busy.
But
he's far too busy.
Everybody would like it. Even I would like it.
Number three, the challenge, Spies, Lies, and Allies, episode number 3. The episode opens with Nelly T's boot camp, or more like we should say Nelly T's booty camp.
Yeah. Woo.
God. In the daily challenge, the agents have to jump off a 30-foot cliff into the sea, dive down, get a cylinder, swim into a cave for another cylinder, swim back out, get dragged by a jet ski, and swim to the finish line. Cameraman turned challenger Huey was so afraid of the jump, he literally vomited. And then Ashley kissed him on the lips.
Yeah, that was so gross.
To like encourage him.
Yeah.
And like pure bile came out of this kid's mouth.
Yep. And she's like, well, she's probably kissed worse.
That's true.
Honestly.
Tommy, who once nearly starved to death to win $1 million on the television show Survivor, lost his drawers and was so embarrassed that his ginger ninja was exposed that he lost consciousness, although it was later revealed that he sustained a concussion and was medically unfit to continue with the game. Ed and Tori win the challenge and become the new power couple, or whatever they're called. The house vote is Tatcha and Jeremiah. Tori and Ed throw in Berna, aka Bertha. Yeah, aka Bertha. And Coriel, except wait.
What?
Oh, a little Clayton Kershaw 10-6 curveball.
Woo!
12-6.
Knee buckler.
12-6
curveball. It's probably more 10-6 though, realistically.
Semantics. Because Tommy was evacuated, the elimination becomes a women's elimination only, because apparently they shot their load on Ed being the backup guy. The elimination is a climbing challenge. And an actual sentence that was spoken in this episode was that Berna grew up in a circus and therefore had an advantage in this event. Until she gets hit in the face by a pole and starts bleeding to death.
Yes. 2 people bled a lot in this episode.
Yes, the elimination was literally painful to watch, but Berna's circus background won the day, and Nelly informed her that Daddy was waiting back in the house, which was absolutely repulsive.
It made me feel so gross. I was like, I literally took a shower 15 minutes before I watched this show. And then I was like, I have to take another one because it's so gross.
I was like,
yeah, it just gave me the heebie-jeebies.
They kept him on screen, like doing
way
this
too long too.
way
Yeah, he
too
was doing
long. Way too long.
a lot of just get a room and just don't do that stuff. I don't know why they put that on. We could have just not had that.
Yeah, we didn't need that.
This was the funniest thing that I took away was the guy getting a concussion, because when he was swimming out of the water with his drawers off, I looked at, you could see his eyes and like, well, he's concussed. Like, yeah. I didn't think it, but you could see like he looked really screwed up and he wasn't even trying to like cover his junk. And it's like, if you're not trying to cover your junk and you're definitely something's wrong. Yeah. And then they showed him again and you could just see that he was completely spaced out. And I'm like, well, he's definitely has a concussion. There's no way. And then they said that he did. So that was the funniest part. We covered the grossest part. That challenge was, yeah,
right. That was definitely the grossest part.
The women's challenge was actually kind of cool in the sense of like, it was strategy, but also physical, which is rare for like something like that in the sense that you had to keep climbing and those things were not stable at all. Right. And the fact that we found out that Bertha grew up in a circus, like I said something like, I said something along the lines of, you could literally tell me anything about these people at this point. Like it would not shock me. Berna growing up in a circus, I was like, that seems accurate. That sounds right for these people. Cause they're all like, when this is like your career goals, and I know that people make good money and stuff like this, but it's so weird. And this episode was like a culmination of this being one of the weirdest things you can watch. Because like you said, you got puking, kissing on the lips. You got Huey just losing his mind about jumping off the thing.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, what do you expect you're going to do on this show? Which is, I say this every season, whether we were, doing the pod or not. It's like, do you think you're just going to like swim in a swimming pool? I mean, like every single challenge usually involves some sort of jumping, challenge at some point, some season, during the season. So it was just, and then he did okay. That was also the thing. Like once he jumped in, he did fine. He did, it was just so. Also, I don't know if I just haven't paid attention to that much, but when they announce TJ, he's called the handler.
Yeah, he's their handler now.
Hilarious. That's hilarious. So they even make it seem like they're just pets. They're just pets, and he's their handler. And this is literally what this show has turned into. Is and also it's just watching this too.
About it is like, I don't know, like we say, like that's what this show's turned into. I don't know if that's for the good or the bad. I mean?
Yeah, it's probably for the good in the sense of like it makes us laugh because the show is not at all what it used to be. No, at all. When people pick Devin over CT, you kind of understand more what the show is. And being excited about it, like just every week I'm going to say this until something proves me wrong. It just seems like another cakewalk for CT. People literally forget he exists.
It's ridiculous.
It's like, he just wins this all the time. He's in better shape now, right? And he looks great. He seems super clear.
Melissa said he looks 10 years younger than he did on last season, and he won last season easily.
Yep. So it's just like he's just going to cruise right along here. It's so funny. And I still don't think people know how to play this game either. That is also another funny thing.
I will say this, and this was a conversation that I was having with friend of the program, John Kish. He brought up a good point, and this is actually he brought up two good points, and I think they're both.
John did?
Yeah, I know, right? Hey, listen. A broken clock's right twice a day. But I think that they have. He brought up two good points that I think are two good discussion points especially for this episode as it kind of shook out. Number one, CT never won when he was in great shape. It wasn't until he was dad bod, like didn't give a shit anymore, that he started winning.
Yeah.
That's
true.
But the other thing was back in the day when he was like in shape, etc., was when the game was a little bit different.
Right.
It wasn't, it's funny because like the game used to not be very physical. And then you'd have guys like Big Easy and, CT and some of these other, and you'd have kind of the really athletic guys dominate, like Alton, etc. And then it got a little bit more strategic, and the guys in the challengers started like working out more. There was a period of time where it was like, okay, these are going to be physically demanding challenges. Like if you remember the first season that Rogan was on, they had to run and he gassed out. He didn't make it through the first episode.
No.
And so there was that sort of where it was physical for a while, but now the daily challenges, this one wasn't bad, but the daily challenges are so janky anymore.
They're
like
so
last
weird.
week was you
one
and
of
I
the
could have
worst.
done that like easily.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like throw bean bags.
They really want it to be the conversational stuff now more than anything. And that's the longest part of the show.
It's
I
like
want the challenges.
Here's what I want from this show is I want the daily challenges to be like physically violent.
Right. Yep.
I want there to be just ridiculous hookups.
Yep.
Like Anissa's sleeping with Corey. What?
Yeah.
And I want them to get just obliterated, hammered.
Yeah.
But the problem is that now the challenges are technically dangerous because they're doing like, instead of just like wrestling in the sand, they're like hanging from helicopters and stuff. And so they can't show up drunk or they get fined.
Right.
Like that's in their contract. So it kind of takes like that element out of it.
I think everything should just be a hall brawl
or some variation.
Yeah, exactly. But just something where it's just like, boom, let's dig it.
I was even thinking nuts. I thought about this during this daily challenge. I don't remember who CT was paired up against. It was one of the newer guys who it was against Tommy. And he got like concussed and that whole situation. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, there was a time, and we saw it last season with the challenge where they had to like wrestle in the mud pit. Yeah. It was like, well, if CT wanted to, he could just drown this guy. Yeah. And that's what we want to see. Like, that's what we want to see. We don't want to see cornhole from a helicopter.
No.
The other good point that John brought up.
Just make it the Winter Soldier stuff. All ground. Just give me all ground stuff. Ground and pound.
Right. The other good point.
Take that however you want.
The other good point that John brought up was, and I agree with him 100% on this. I do not know, as he said, why Tori gets so much respect.
No, I have no idea.
She's phony. I used to like her, like in the first couple seasons she was on. Yeah, I actually really liked her. But in this one and the last one, she just comes across as being super fake. Yeah. And I just don't like, she beat Jenny in a hall brawl and she gets respect for that.
Right.
Literally, which I understand. Did nothing. That's a good win, because Jenny's built like a middle linebacker. So that's a good win, but that's not a resume.
Right. No, that's one day on the job.
Right.
Does a resume not make? It's just insane. So yeah, I don't understand her. The thing though is I can't understand why they wouldn't get rid of the rookies. If I was doing something that I would, let's say, good at, experience at, I want to get the other experienced people out. So when we're actually at the end, you go against people I have no idea what the hell they're doing. Right. And so I don't understand the strategy there, but I've been complaining about that for years where they're like, let's keep the vets around. It's like, that's stupid because you're actually making it harder for you to win.
Yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing though, is if you're a vet and you go against that grain, you saw it in this one, Big T almost got thrown in because they just don't know where she's at. They just don't understand that she has to be brave.
You have to be brave. I need to get it. I should have brought more wigs. Hide myself.
I will say my favorite rookie at this point is Emmy because she is equal parts adorable and horrifying.
Yes.
Like her accent somehow makes her just completely like, I'm afraid of her, but I also think that she's really cute.
She is like a Bond villain brought to life. but also like a Bond girl almost, because it's like you don't know which side she's on, and just like in the sense of like you don't know which side she's on, can't trust her, but you like I think Ed's my favorite because I like how he does not give a crap.
No, he doesn't.
He's
care.
like, I'm smarter than everybody here.
Yeah,
he's strong. He's obviously strong. He's like, just keep throwing me in. Like he literally doesn't care if he gets thrown in.
Yeah,
he just happened to win today.
Yeah.
So
I think he's just happy to be there.
Yeah, he's just a happy.
I like him too. Yeah, I like him too.
He's going to be a TJ favorite.
Oh yeah,
definitely,
definitely. He's like, I feel like because he's kind of a little dude. I feel like he's like if Derek was nice, was like
he's
friendly.
If Derek was smart.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
No offense to Derek. Derek was a great competitor, but this guy is like a different level of intelligence.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited for next week. Let me tell you why. Did you watch the preview?
I did watch the
Josh
preview.
Loses his mind.
Josh loses it. I was cracking up. Finally.
We're only 4 weeks in.
Yeah, right. It took too long.
4 out of 4 out.
I can't wait. I can't wait for what sandwich caused this to happen.
I said, as soon as I saw it, and he's screaming at somebody. I said, he's either screaming at Devin or CT.
Yeah, he's just like, who puts mustard on a BLT? It has to be mayonnaise.
Well, I don't necessarily disagree with that.
I don't disagree with him, but that's what he would lose his mind.
I have a problem. So here's a problem that I have. I ordered takeout tonight. This is tangent, obviously.
That's okay.
I ordered a takeout tonight. I got a wrap. I got a chicken bacon wrap. Okay. If you get it as is, it's a honey mustard, and they put the honey mustard in the wrap. And I don't like honey mustard. So I said, can I get ranch? And I would like the ranch in the wrap because last time they put the ranch on the side, and the person taking the order said they won't do that. And I just literally laughed.
Can we name this place or?
Yeah, it was Timber Creek Tap and Table.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I don't have a problem naming them.
They won't do that.
They won't do that.
That's hilarious. Like, just they as
it's
a
not like I didn't.
It's
not like I didn't ask for. It's not like I ordered a chicken bacon wrap, but I don't want chicken and bacon, and instead I want like steak and poutine or some shit. I just want. The condiments.
Substitute saucing. Yeah, the saucing is different.
Like, that's amazing. No, they won't do that. They'll only put it on the side. I said, what?
That's not how you do. It's such an easy one. It's so.
It's not like I'm asking for an egg when there's a special.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
You know? It's not nice. It's not that.
No,
it's not.
It isn't
level.
that. You only have so much eggs. They're going to give you the ranch one way or the other.
Right.
You might as well just throw it in there.
I feel like it's easier to just put it on the wrap. That's one less step.
Yeah, and it also saves containers.
Exactly. Hey, you know,
they won't do it.
They won't. They won't.
No ranch inside.
Nope.
If you go,
because you haven't put the ranch inside.
Do you go there to eat? Like, do you go there to sit down and eat?
No, very rarely. But
I was like, if you did, you should ask if you sat down. Yeah, if you sat down
or once a week. I mean, yeah.
If you sat down there and said, "Can I have it?" I wonder if it'd be different.
No, they won't do that.
They won't do that.
They just won't do that.
They won't do that. And I'll be like, they meaning what?
Yeah. Who? The prep cook?
The guy literally does not care what he's doing. He's just gonna do it.
He's in there. He's probably on parole anyway. Not that that matters. I'm just saying.
No, it's just like he doesn't care.
No.
They just didn't want to put it in the system. There probably is like a thing that
like you have to make a note.
Been like, yeah, that's it.
Ranch on wrap.
Yeah. Ranch in wrap.
Ranch in wrap.
You don't want it on the wrap. That'd be weird.
Well, that's what you end up having because you have to dunk it.
You have to dunk it, yeah.
If you want the ranch.
I'm not a big wrap guy personally. But just put it in.
The only reason I get the wrap is because they've taken every other thing that I like off their menu.
Well, that's no good. It's like Taco Bell's taking like everything I liked off the menu.
They still make tacos.
They do still make tacos, but I miss my grilled stuffed burrito. I will say that. But we move on. So this week, we're covering a couple weeks of music here, but 3 artists that I like. And Brenton decided to listen to at least some of it. 2 of them.
I listened to 2 of them the whole way through.
Killers and Sturgill.
Yes.
Okay. So the Killers, one of my favorite bands. I've seen them in concert. They're, I've just always really liked them. They came out with the experimental album called Pressure Machine, and it actually is getting pretty good critical reviews. It's lead singer Brandon Flowers grew up in a very small town, and it's basically stories about growing up in this very small town between his ages of 10 and 16. And it's definitely weird. I really like it in the sense that it's just, it's not something that you're going to rock out to at all by any means. It is not, their first 2 or 3 albums where there's like actual like stadium rock. I don't even know if they're like, I don't know how they plan on touring with this, but I like that they went a little different just to kind of show that they could. I don't want the next album to be like this. But to me, I don't want to compare it to this band because I hold this band in much higher esteem, even though I really like Killers. It felt like a Grateful Dead thing where you're just going like one long song. And and you get a storyline, and that's kind of the theme with, I think, actually all 3 of these albums, but particularly the Killers and Sturgill, is that it's kind of one long story or a story that you're getting. And it definitely with the Killers, I don't think they really cared if like people liked it or hated it. I think he just wanted to get this story out there because everything else was always such glam rock for them for the most part. 90% of what they do has been glam rock. So it's not for everyone. It may not be for like Killers fans, but it is definitely different. It's something I've listened to, I think, twice the whole way through, because you can't, it's not as much as I say I like the album like it is, it's not something you have to kind of listen to it beginning to end in the way that you do with Sturgill's album too. But otherwise you kind of get lost, and like there isn't a song that sticks out. I would even say that Sturgill's Dude and Juanita, the Ballad of Dude and Juanita, has songs that I think can kind of stick out. This doesn't. They're going to release singles and have music videos, but for me, none of the songs stick out because they're not the same, but they follow that same storyline.
Do you think that okay, so I listened to this, and like, what's your take on like the recordings before each song? Because it does tell like a story. I'm not 100% sure really what they were going for, what they were trying to convey. I found them to be irritating because that's just something that I've never really liked in music, those sort of like interstitial things. But what was your take on them?
I wish it wasn't every song.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it here and there, but some of them were just like a little too much pushing the narrative.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Pushing the narrative. They're like the one where the guy just talks about like, hopefully you get hit by a train, so that's a way out. Like I thought that was a good one because it's just like, man, that's a depressing area. But then there were some that just kind of didn't. The songs were about what they were saying, but they wasn't necessary. I think maybe if you do 2 or 3 of them, then that's kind of covers your bases. Every 3 songs, put one of those in there. I think that would have been a little better. It's not my favorite thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not an album I want to go back and like, I'll listen to it here and there. It's not going to be something at the end of the year I'm going to look at my playlist. It's probably not going to be something that shows up. Any of those songs aren't going to show up in my like top 50 by any means. It's an
for
album
the year or in general?
For a year. Okay. Like the top plays or whatever for Spotify or Apple Music. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's not meant to be that though. There's no way they putting this together. They weren't trying. They were trying to do the opposite of what John Mayer was doing, where John Mayer is just like, I want to do an album that is, playing on a certain genre of music, 80s music, poppy, catchy stuff like this. Hopefully I get a hit, but the people that like me are going to play this. Mm-hmm. And the Killers were like, we don't really care if anyone likes this. We just want to do something different because you know what they're going to do every single time? Sell out arenas, huge stadiums. That's what they do.
Do they sell out arenas and stadiums?
Yeah. Yeah, they are like, it's
Like
insane,
recently?
dude. Like yeah, because they're like super popular worldwide too. Like if you go like in Europe, they go to like places that hold like 75,000 and it's a sellout. It's they're still really popular. They're like known as a touring, like that's kind of what they're known as now, is just basically like we just play to the crowds. And it's, I don't want to say like compare to this, but it's just like it's like, see, it's like how the Rolling Stones just haven't made, you know, really good music in forever, but they'll still sell out just because there's a certain group of people that will just always follow. And the Killers are obviously not the Rolling Stones, but it's just in the sense of they are just stadium rock, and they have, you know, their early songs were catchy, but they play that, you know, the piano and things like that to just get people going. And for whatever reason, like Europe really has dug the Killers. So it's that electronica that's more popular in Europe than it is in America, but they still sell out here. I mean, I
So
couldn't get tickets last time they were like going like they sold out immediately online.
so here's my thing with the Killers before we move on to
Sure.
the Sturgill Simpson thing is we were kind of talking about this, and you know, I said I don't like the Killers, and at this point, as we've had a few of these discussions, I think it's more, and we talked a little bit about this, is that I'm just kind of indifferent. It's not that I don't like really any type of music. The only band that I don't like is Nickelback, and at this point, that's more for comedy than anything else.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they're like pretty much irrelevant. I'm just indifferent. And I felt, to be honest with you, I remember, you know, their first album, which is Sam's
Hot Fuzz. Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz, right? Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz.
Is it Fuzz or Fuss?
Hot Fuzz.
Fuss.
Yes.
It's
weird hearing it. Yeah. It's weird hearing it. Yeah. But yes.
Right. Yeah. Hot Fuss. It just got overplayed into oblivion.
Well, and you know that Mr. Brightside is still in the top 200 in the UK, or it was for like, it was the longest running top 200 song in like forever. It's
That's
crazy.
What I mean. It's like that, like that album, especially that song, got played just into annihilation. Not as bad as Sex on Fire with Kings of Leon.
Yeah,
but really overplayed to the point where I never wanted to hear it again. And they didn't really, for me, do anything. And I'm not an alternative rock guy. I mean, this is my genre. Like, this is my wheelhouse genre. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I know like a lot of bands do this experimental stuff. Like the Foo Fighters did, you know, an album where they only recorded on a certain type of whatever. And then they did an album where they were only going to record in these types of studios and stuff like that. And that's fine. That's fine. You know, when people want to do experimental stuff, it's just, I think it's easier for like rock bands to get away with it, or like bands to get away with it, than individual artists. Because I know like when Taylor Swift and Katy Perry both did their quote unquote experimental albums, everybody was like, nah, we don't like any of this.
Right.
And so like that was the thing for me. When you said, oh, there's a Killers thing, I was expecting more upbeat, kind of like alternative rock pop songs. And I was not kidding when I told you that this album almost put me to sleep.
And I said, I get that. Like, I understood why you said that, and I wasn't against it. It's just, like I said, it's not at all in my top. It's probably my top 5 favorite Killers album. Sam Sound's my favorite Killers album. Right. Because it's, to me, actually like the most rock album that they do. And kind of, it was critically panned at the time. And then actually people went back and said, actually, we like this more. So that's kind of the music from the Killers that I prefer. You know, like I said, I hope the next album isn't this. I would actually like to see them go back and just do, and because they haven't done it in years, a true electronica Were the Killers kind of album. And just to see what that is, even if it's not good, I just want to see them try it again. Because who cares? Like, you're the Killers now. Like, you don't need there's nothing you need to have. So go back and do, it's kind of like the Bruce Springsteen thing. Now all he does is like Bruce Springsteen, like, you know, slow storytelling things. He doesn't care anymore. He's Bruce Springsteen. You know, it's like, not that, and then I'm using these really high acts, but it's like,
yeah, that's what I was going to say. You're throwing.
Well, I'm using what I'm saying is that you
here.
have your fan base. What I'm saying is like you have your fan base. That's not going to change.
Right.
Nothing the Killers is going to do is going to like, even if someone doesn't, if someone's a huge Killers fan, they heard this album and they don't like it, they're going to be like, well, I'll just go back and listen to Hot Fuzz, or I'll listen to, you know, Sam's Town, or, you know, any of the older albums like that. They're like, I can just do that. And that's just where they're at.
Yeah. And it is that thing, right? Is that if you stay around long enough, you're going to release some clunkers. This is just how it is. Right. You know what I mean? Like, like the Chili Peppers last album, I've never listened to it the whole way through. That's my favorite band. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just because it was a clunker. So for me personally, as a guy who's not a Killers fan, I would not recommend this as, if you're looking to get into the Killers, I would not recommend this as a jumping in point.
No, I wouldn't do that either. That would be rough, actually, if you're that would not be the way to introduce this to anyone ever.
No. Yeah.
But we'll move on to this is another experimental album, but more of what he kind of does anyhow. Because he does, like, if there's a definition, if someone doesn't care, it's definitely Sturgill Simpson. He released the Ballad of Dune Juanita, which is a pre-Civil War style album fictionalized about his grandparents, who were not born before them, but he wanted to write about them, and then said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write like something that is pre-Civil War. It's very mix of bluegrass, old country. You know, Willie Nelson plays guitar on this. It's very much of that era. It's actually a storyline. There's a beginning, middle, and an end to it. I like it. It's 28 minutes. So if you like, it doesn't take long to get through it. No. And I think there are a couple songs that stand out as like, maybe, you know, songs you can just listen to individually, but it's also just like, this is supposedly his last Sturgill Simpson album, which means he's probably going to move on to like a band, do something like that. And I think this is, if you're a fan of Sturgill Simpson, I think this is kind of a good way to go out. You kind of do something that's similar to doing bluegrass, but also in a sense of like, I'm doing something that is purely for me. And if you like it, fine. If you don't, well, you're getting a new version of me anyhow. So whatever at this point. I've heard he's probably not going to tour on this, because how do you tour a 28-minute album? He was kind of run down he got COVID, and he had a rough year last year with everything going down, even though then he was able to do the bluegrass albums. So I think it would be a fun way to introduce someone to Sturgill Simpson, honestly, because it's 28 minutes and you're like, this is not like anything else out there right now, because he doesn't do country like anyone else. So
despite the fact that you've been talking about this dude, like since we started this podcast, you know, like a year ago. Yeah. This was the first, like I listened to like the first two songs of the rock album, and I was like, I don't really care for this. This isn't for me. So this was kind of my introduction. Sure. I'm going to, you know, we're going to talk about this. I want to listen to it. And I really liked it. Nice. And I'm going to tell you what it reminded me of. It reminded me of Johnny Cash. Oh yeah. It's like, it's not, and Dallas and I were talking about this on our commute the one day. Cause it's like, almost, it's not like, I wouldn't call it like bluegrass. Cause like when I think of bluegrass, I think of almost like Mumford and Sons. And this sounded like dirty old country, like Johnny Cash, like prison country. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I dug it, and I did. And cool. I mean, I Snapchatted him something funny about how you're making me listen to an album that has a 1.5-minute song about his dead dog. Yes. I was like, there couldn't be anything more country than that, because that's like the joke, you know, the country music is about like the truck and the dog. Yep. But I actually like really enjoyed it. I don't think I was necessarily surprised, because I do kind of like, it's not stuff I listen to all the time, but I do like that kind of like old Johnny Cash
Oh, sure.
Like American Legend or whatever the hell those albums are called. And so I kind of vibe with it in that way. And so this is something that I would recommend.
Yeah.
To people, and that's coming from someone whose wheelhouse is alternative rock and hip hop.
Right.
And I'm recommending
it makes me very happy. I thought of the three, and I thought this would be the one that would be. I was like, I said to myself, I was like, I think this is the one that Brenton will probably walk away like not hating.
Right.
That was literally what I said.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't sure if you'd like it.
I
wasn't sure if you'd like it, but I was like, he's not going to hate it.
Enjoyed it. Yeah,
that's good. That makes me happy. That is.
Well, there you have.
I don't even really need to say more because that's a heck of an endorsement because I wasn't expecting it. And we'll finish the music one with the one you haven't listened to, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I can sum this up pretty quickly. I like Lorde. Her first song was like super overplayed and whatever. Royals, everyone knows that song. Yeah. It's called Solar Power, and that song's very
I
catchy.
can get behind Green Energy.
Sure. Who can't? It is funny. One of my coworkers said that she didn't like the song because it reminds her of like a shaving commercial with like women on the beach. And I was like, in a way, at first it was like, well, that's kind of, funny. But then it was like, that's not like the worst thing because like songs and commercials are supposed to be catchy and like earworms. So I was like, that's kind of a compliment. And then I read a tweet that someone said, it feels like Lorde discovered beaches and weed this past year and just decided I'm going to write about all those things. And that's kind of it. California is probably my favorite song on the album. It's kind of a mix of being very poppy, but also kind of melodramatic, which is what she's really good at. She's just a really good singer, so that helps too. She has a great voice. I mean, it's weird to say, like, if you were introducing someone to Lorde, well, you're gonna play Royals because that's the other one, the song. Yeah, that's just the song. But I think this is how I would rate this. If I had people over, which I don't, because I don't really like people that much, except for like you and a few other people.
Yeah.
But if I were to have like a larger group of people over and I wanted to have something in the background that I knew would not like mess with anyone, it's not going to like throw off the vibe of a place. This is kind of what you want because it never goes too high or too low. And it has like, I'm trying to think of like the best word, but it's almost like it sounds what like sparkling water sounds like when you like open up like the fizz is kind of the sound. So it's just like unoffensive, but like kind of like, ooh, this is refreshing. Like, that's going to be refreshing. And that's like how I would describe this album is it's refreshing, but it's not, it's not like sparkling water is refreshing, but you don't think about it in, past the moment of it. That's kind of look at this album. It's fine. I definitely thought that it would have maybe a couple, I like Jack Antonoff and he's one of the co-writers on this. And he's done stuff with Lana Del Rey and Taylor Swift. And I think both of the things he's done with them is more powerful than this album for sure. But it is sort of, I think it was just kind of her just being a little looser with what she wanted to do. She wasn't trying to have like super big hits, I don't think. It may have hits on it. I don't know. But like I said, I think it's good in a way that like some Marvel movies or whatever are like good background movies. This is good background music. If you're like working on something, it's not going to distract you, but it also will keep your head kind of going. So if you're like, that's the way I would look at it. And you didn't listen to it, so that's fine. There you go.
That's it.
So that's some music reviews.
Good background music. Do you know what's not good background music?
What's that?
Radiohead Kid A. It's not great for a party. I know that from personal experience.
I don't really like that album, but that's fine.
I thought you were going to say you don't like Radiohead. And
I don't really like that
ticket
album.
to come slap the shit out of you.
I don't really like that album. It just isn't. I think it was like the thing where you said was just so overplayed. Also, like everybody and their mom loved it, and I was like, we can't all love something like this, and it was just played everywhere. So
it's not.
It's good.
It's
like,
good.
I understand.
It's not my
I understand
favorite
what it is.
Radiohead.
No, it isn't. Yeah. No, I'm not indifferent Radiohead. I give them like above a passing score for me. They're just not my favorites. So it's so depressing.
Thom Yorke.
It's too depressing for me to like ever go, and I can't.
That's what I've told people. Like if I show up at work and you hear Radiohead coming out of my car, like check on me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You only like anyone that's really digging deep into Radiohead. You got to be just, give them a Snickers.
Yeah.
Give them you want to be on their good side.
Minimum.
Yeah. You want to be on their good side.
Yeah. We move on to the season finale of The Summer of George. And our guest tonight is Greg.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going all right. I'm excited to be on.
Greg's picked a great episode. The Puerto Rican Day episode is the 176th episode of the NBC sitcom Seinfeld. It aired on May 7th, 1998. And was the 20th episode of the 9th and final season. It was the show's second highest rated episode of all time, with 38.8 million viewers, only behind the series finale. Because of the controversy surrounding the scene in which Cosmo Kramer accidentally burns and then stomps on a Puerto Rican flag, NBC apologized and had it banned from airing on the network again. Also, it was not initially part of the syndication package. In the summer of 2002, the episode started to appear with the flag burning sequence intact. And then the main sort of plot point is that Jerry, George, Kramer, and Elaine get stuck in standstill traffic due to the massive Puerto Rican Day parade. So what was it about this episode that you picked this episode?
It's no lie, my favorite episode of Seinfeld.
Okay.
It isn't, no one ever puts this in their top 10, their top 15, probably not even their top 20. But there are three things that stand out to me so much. I love that they went to a Mets game, which is like a big thing with like, but you never really hear about them going, like there's the Elaine episode where they go to a game, a Yankees game or whatever, but Jerry never goes to Mets games. Very rarely. There's the one where the guy's on the naked subway and they leave early. And my thing has always been, I never leave a baseball game early, and it feels like bad juju to leave early. And this was kind of that thing where it's like, is this the bad juju of leaving a game early because they get stuck in this parade? So I like that. My second thing is George's whole thing about the Hindenburg. That's gotta hurt. I love that. That's just so it becomes the red dot thing. But the best thing is the three of them in the house for sale, meeting each other, and with all their fake names, it like brings everything back together from Seinfeld that I like love, where it's just, this time I won't be out there or whatever, like that line was just so funny. And this is the first time I've watched it in like a really long time. I've watched this ad nauseum when like I first had the DVD, because I was just like, it isn't the funniest episode of Seinfeld, but it is also an episode where you don't stop laughing. To me, at least, it doesn't have like the one big laugh, unless like when they meet each other at the apartment, whatever, the brownstone. That's a funny moment where they just say hello to each other and they just pretend to like whatever, but you don't go 5 seconds without laughing. And, it's just so silly and such like a great way to, it's not the ending of this show, but
it kind of is.
It kind of is, because it is this culmination of all these things where like, they are terrible people. Yeah. They kind of know they're terrible people. They don't even care though. It's like Jerry cuts the guy off and then the guy lets him go, and he could have just let it be. But because Jerry is so petty, he's like, jackass. Calls him a jackass, says blocks all rules, and then gets caught in this thing because of karma. Like all these little the karma is very big in this episode, where like all these things that they thought was like funny, like for George to make the joke about the Hindenburg is like, ooh, a little cringy, even though it's years ago. Yeah. But then it's cringy. And then Elaine is just like, well, screw you guys. I need to go watch 60 Minutes and I need to unwind. and her just leaving her friends. Well, then she gets stuck underneath so it's all these things. I mean, Kramer obviously gets beat up. I mean, like, or gets, chased down by the reoccurring characters that always find him in different situations. I don't find that part, like, I mean, the flag burning thing is definitely something where people like went nuts over, and I, to some degree get it, but it wasn't intentional. It was to make people mad at him. So it wasn't like they tried to pass it off as this is okay. It was literally like, he did this. It was a complete accident. He was just smoking a cigar, and he's stomping it out to put out the fire. And so for it to be overblown, I think that's kind of why I like it, is because it almost was like the first sign that comedy might be dying, in that sense of like, we can't do anything. We can't even actually make something that is intentionally. They made him get beat up for something that was bad. Like, they made him get, like, he didn't get away with it.
Right.
So it's, you know what I mean? So it was just like, people got so offended by this, and it was just like one of those things where, like, well, it's different if he just got away with burning the flag, but like, people chased him down and went after him. Like, this is what happens to Kramer with this situation. So there's that. And then, it just, the end where it's none of them win anything. The Mets even lose the game. They come back, but they don't win. And it's like, This is kind of Seinfeld in a culmination of, they're crappy, and sometimes things look okay for them, but at the end, because they're crappy people, it doesn't work out. And it's sort of a weird, almost like goes beyond what people probably think of with Seinfeld, but it sounds weird, but it's the way of like the heroes losing in the end, because we shouldn't be rooting for Seinfeld characters.
Right.
And they ultimately get their comeuppance at the very end, but in this episode, they get their semi comeuppance where, Elaine doesn't get to unwind. Jerry doesn't get, his car gets thrown into a freaking like stairwell. George has the guy with the laser, and Kramer is just gets beat up.
Yeah. Two things. Well, I got three things. First of all, this was the episode that I laughed the most at during the rewatch, other than the Jimmy.
I love that.
The Jimmy I laughed the most at, but this was the one that I laughed second most.
Okay.
On the whole comedy is dead thing, it's like you could say that with this, but then we also get like Michael Scott making That's What She Said and like really homophobic jokes.
Sure.
That landed, you know what I mean? That you couldn't make those. You couldn't make the like half the jokes in the early seasons of The Office you couldn't make today.
I was to say it's the beginning of that, where like people started becoming slightly more aware.
I guess. I mean,
that episode couldn't be put on TV for like 5 years. That's kind of crazy.
Yes, but that's the thing, and this is my last point: is I felt like when Elaine led the group of refugees under the bleachers, and they open up the bleachers, and they're like, "Nope, can't come in," and they're all just like filthy, and they're like, "Please, we just want," was way more offensive,
right? Yes,
than the flag thing. Like, because we talked about like, oh yeah, they couldn't make this show, they couldn't make this episode now, and all this stuff. That's what I thought the offensive part was, because that was clearly very offensive, hilarious, like very totally funny. Hilarious. They got gum and shit in their hair, and their just faces are all filthy. Oh, it's like, oh, she's pregnant, but she's not married. Don't judge me. Like all, oh, you want to make out like that whole like crew.
Yep.
That like when they pulled the bleacher up and it was just them, and they're like, the light. It was way more offensive to me.
Yep.
But just as a whole, I mean, this episode is very funny, and that stare down at the end with, like you said, with them, and they're all doing their fake names, and
it's great. It shows the influences of like all the like older comics that Jerry really liked.
Yeah, sure.
And so this is that kind of thing. This is the Three Stooges. This is, all that kind of stuff put together, and like it was paying homage to all that kind of stuff, because Jerry Seinfeld isn't Jerry Seinfeld without the prior comics in his life. So that's why I said like to me, it's not the funniest episode of Seinfeld, and I don't even know what is to me, because I think it also depends on how you feel. But it's my favorite episode for different things. Like, I probably say my favorite episode changes, or the funniest episode changes. This has been my favorite episode, literally since it aired.
Yeah.
I was like, I love this episode, and it's just, if people are like mad that I'm saying that, I'm sorry. We can. They don't make fun
It's
of
fine.
my mom.
Just don't be
so it's not offensive to me.
Just it's fine. It's fine. Just don't try to host a game show in 8 years.
I won't. Believe me. There's so much other stuff probably in the background I don't even think about. They'll be like, well,
yeah, right.
You did this.
Yeah.
So we can just do this kind of quickly, because this is just the first season of Summer of George. But were there any favorite Seinfeld moments for you that you just wanted to touch on a little bit that we may have missed this summer? And then we can always dig deeper on next Summer of George.
I think I'd like to kind of rotate on the shows, because I think that this is something that could be done with like The Office. I think that's easily, Curb, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
Are there any episodes? I guess there's a few that like just stick out to me. Number one, I'm very surprised no one picked the Soup Nazi. Yeah. Although I would say that's like low hanging fruit.
That's kind of, I think, what happened with a lot of people is I had actually a couple of people say, like, you know what, I was going to pick the Soup Nazi, but you probably already had someone pick it. And I was like, actually haven't.
Right.
And then I think that just kept happening. So
yeah, I think that is Soup Nazi would have been low hanging fruit, but that's fine. You know what I mean? Yeah. Another episode that I was kind of surprised, maybe it's just one that's for me, is Top of the Muffin to You.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Is another one that I would say is all time like pop culture classic. Top of the Muffin to You. That whole thing. Outside of that, there's the episode that I almost chose would have been the one where Frank has to relive his cooking fiasco. That was my number 2 pick. So those episodes, I don't remember if anybody picked a Peterman episode.
Yeah,
I actually think Jamie did.
Yeah,
I think that was the only, and that was the first.
She did the chicken roaster.
Yeah.
So,
and that was the first episode that we did, and I think that's the only Peterman episode.
The Frogger episode is really good to me. That's a funny. That's a funny one. But this is one of those things where nobody
picked the Risk episode. Nobody picked the Risk episode. Yeah.
But nobody picked an episode we disagreed with either. This was one of those things where like no one, we weren't. It was always easy to talk about, and I think that's like the great thing about. And like you said, we'll pick other shows to go on.
The closest one that I would say that was the parking garage, because I'm not a huge fan of that episode.
Yeah, you're not a huge fan on that episode. For me, there wasn't a miss on this. I don't know. I think I'm trying to think of other names. Maybe like for if we do an Office one, it can be the Summer Chili Cook-Off.
Yeah.
The
Dundies, something
the Dundies.
Yeah.
But thanks for everyone that came on on the show. Everybody listens to the show. I know that you came on, so that was really cool. It really was nice to get other people on and talk about it. I can rewatch Seinfeld any day of the week.
Yeah.
So any hour. So I'm glad.
It's one of those things, man. Like if you grew up around like within a 5-year radius of like our birthday year, our birth year, like this was like the pop culture phenomenon. And I had this conversation recently, like, well, why do you think Seinfeld is better than Friends and Frasier from that time period? And I said, the reason I think that it holds up better today than those two shows is that because there's no real consistent through line with the story.
Yeah.
And you can watch any episode.
Yeah.
Like you had to be invested in the characters in Frasier and Friends. you had to be invested in the characters. Like it was a big deal when Rachel and Ross got together, right?
Right.
But because Seinfeld just takes a situation that is relatable to everyday life and then just makes it insane.
Yep.
Like that's what makes it more infinitely rewatchable than like Friends, because it's not like it's funny. It's funny now because it looks antiquated when Chandler's like banging on his computer and it's this giant like desktop computer. That's not supposed to be funny. It's funny now because it's old. You know what I mean? But you don't need those sort of like the timeliness of the props for
exactly
the stories of Seinfeld to work. And so that's why I think, you know, why Seinfeld specifically is just completely timeless and infinitely rewatchable.
Yeah, I mean, like I've said, it's my favorite show of all time, drama or comedy. And that will never change. That is 100% fact for me.
Right.
So we will move on, and it's crazy to think about this, but the Super Nintendo Entertainment System was released 30 years ago, August 23rd. The SNES ushered in 16-bit graphics and we're going to sell 49.1 million units. Let's do a little lightning round, top 5 games.
First of all, I do want to say that it came out in Japan the year before, so technically, but this is when the 23rd here this past week was when it did launch in in the United States of America. The first three for me, it's weird to think about this because like this is a system that's 30 years old,
right?
And there hasn't been new games for it in like 25 years or whatever,
right?
So you would think that this list would be concrete, but because I am an SNES collector and I have played new game or played games that I've never played like more recently, the first 3 games are locked and they'll always be locked. And then the bottom 2 were just kind of like I hemmed and hawed around it and finally landed on a couple. So for me, my do you want to do ping pong?
Yeah, we can ping pong.
5-1 ping pong.
5-1.
Number 5 for me was Super Mario World RPG. Super Mario RPG.
Yeah.
The Legend of the 7 Stars.
Mine was Street Fighter 2.
That's a good pick.
Like that game was just so much. I remember just being so stoked.
Yeah.
And I like kind of when I was like thinking about this, I was like, what's this game really? Like that stood out to me like almost immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a fun game.
Now, Street Fighter 2 or Street Fighter 2 Turbo? Because Turbo adds like 5 other characters, I think. Like
it was just original Street Fighter 2 for me.
Okay.
I the Turbo was fine and fun, but it was like just to have Street Fighter 2 because I remember going to the arcade and playing it, and it's like, oh my god, I can just play this at home now all the time.
Yeah, right.
That was fun.
Number 4 for me is Mega Man X. So the first of the X.
That's a miss on my part.
Yeah, the first of the X line of the
that
Mega
game's
Man
awesome
series.
Damn it, that game was awesome.
Rather than the Robot Masters, you get the Mavericks that are based on animals.
So cool.
Yeah, Mega Man X. The first one.
That was great. So
Mega
good.
Man X 2 and 3 are crazy expensive. I got Mega Man X for like $25. I think the other Mega Man X2 and Mega Man X3 are over 100 each. I feel like
I never even played the other ones because I just loved the first one so much. So I didn't even know if the other 2 are, what they involve. But mine was Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah, that's good.
It was a game that I remember beating it literally the day I got it.
Yeah.
But I also just kept playing it. Like I didn't care because it was just so much fun. There's also little things you can do otherwise beyond just beating the game that made it fun. But
the collectibles and such.
No, that was super cool.
Yeah, that's another series that I got pretty cheaply. I have all 3 of the Donkey Kong Country games: Donkey Kong Country, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest.
Oh yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
Whatever the hell the third one's called with Dixie Kong.
I had all 3 of them too. Yeah. But the first one was my favorite.
Yeah, the first one's good. I love it because you can play it fast. And I love playing these 2D platformers. I like playing them fast. I don't like playing like other games. I don't like playing fast, but these old school 2D platformers. And that's actually a nice segue into a game that I can beat in 14 minutes, which is Super Mario World. Number 3 for me.
That's my number 3 too.
Yeah. Timeless.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I can speed run it, but I prefer to play the game out and play like every world,
Yeah,
it's just so it's Mario Brothers 3 on steroids.
Right. That's Mario Brothers 2 is a great game, and then this one's like up another level. I played it not that long ago at like one of those like at a brewery that had one of those systems that has like all the games.
Yeah, sure.
And I played it and I was like, the muscle memory came back like almost immediately. I'm like, well, this is fun. Yeah. I just, hadn't played it in years, but yeah, it's a great game.
Yeah.
So much fun.
It's on the Switch Lite and I can't play it because the controller's too small. Like the buttons are too small, and I have to be able to I could play it and I can't speed run it on the Switch.
Yeah.
On the Switch. I have to have an SNES controller. Number 2 for me is The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Number 2.
That game's awesome. It's my number 1. My number 2 is Super Metroid.
Oh, okay. Very, very good.
I love that game. It was always a battle between that and Link to the Past of what I wanted to just keep going back and playing. Because, I beat, you beat both the games, and then it was just like, but then there's all the other stuff I can do. And
right.
The thing about Super Metroid or Metroid in general, I'm surprised we haven't gotten a movie. That's like one thing I'm super surprised. It feels like a thing you could actually make a movie pretty easily with.
Yeah, potentially. I think I'd like to. I have it on I have the NES Classic.
Yeah,
and it has
that one's harder, on but the
Metroid.
The NES one's much harder than the Super Nintendo one, but most NES games are insane anyhow. So
right, number 1 for me is Final Fantasy VI, or as it was known on the SNES at the time, Final Fantasy 3, because we didn't get 4 and 5.
Yeah, it was an awesome game too.
Final Fantasy 6 holds up.
I owned all these games. I just didn't have them in
that
order for me.
The only one of these that I don't have right now is Mario RPG, and I'd like to. I mean, it's not terribly expensive, so I should probably just buy it, but someday.
I definitely had that. You know what? An underrated thing that I just really liked was Mario Paint.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. That was just like a fun little thing to have around.
Yeah. I'm growing my collection like slowly, a little bit at a time. The last game I bought was Aladdin, so I bought that.
And I forgot about how much fun Super Mario RPG is. I just had to look at the cover.
Yeah.
Dang, that was cool. That was a cool game.
So we move on to pop culture potpourri news. Okay, number 1 on pop culture potpourri for this week, and we had this discussion last week after we got done recording the episode that there's these trailers, there's like all these different trailers, and we talk about them all the time, and we thought to ourselves, we could be doing live reactions to these and then talking about them, and so then it's kind of like a little bit more organic. And so lo and behold, we get a leak of like real grainy Taliban hostage video footage of Spider-Man Far From Home. And then a day or two later or whatever, we get the real thing. So we're going to take a look at that here in a second. Have you seen anything still shots?
Yeah. I mean, it was unavoidable,
Yeah. I use social media to promote this show.
And I wouldn't even like look for it. And it's like, oh, here it is.
Yeah, I'd just be scrolling through Twitter looking for PlayStation stuff and see like Doctor Strange and just be like, oh.
When you told me about this, I was literally just about to watch it too. When you like sent me the thing, because I was like waiting for something to do, like waiting in between this thing at work, and I was like, oh, now I won't watch it. So you timed it very perfectly.
So you have it, I have it. We're up. We're ready to go. You ready to go?
Yep. Are you watching the? I have the IGN. I don't know if that matters.
It's just on YouTube. It's 2 minutes and 56 seconds long. Do you have that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to go on 3, 2, 1, go. We got Doctor Strange on a flying. Oh, we got some Doctor Strange stuff.
Flying through. How do you tell someone you're Spider-Man?
Nope. So weird that Columbia is still involved.
Yeah.
Hold on, does he have a hoodie on?
Yeah, and sweatpants, and it's snowy. Well, like this.
Yeah, Doctor Strange special effects are good to have in anything.
Yeah. Whoa.
Okay, happy.
Yeah. Green Goblin thing.
Green Goblin. Yep.
Was that Keaton? Well, that's
Yeah, I think
Ock,
so.
obviously.
Yeah, and then Dr. Ock. Yeah. Well, I have goosebumps. I mean, like, I just don't. I like, that's just what happens when. This is basically looking at that. It's basically like, well, we have to do the Sinister Six is what I'm looking at.
Was it Keaton's voice? Are we sure?
I think it was.
Voice?
I think it was. It was either Keaton or it was Doctor Strange, but
I don't think it was. I don't.
It was a weird gravelly voice. So if it's Keaton, then I think we're getting the Sinister Six in some way, shape, or form.
Here's my like issue. I mean, I don't know if you want to even call it an issue, but like, who creates the multiverse? Is it Loki and Loki? Is it Strange and Spider-Man? Is it, Wanda and WandaVision? There's so many like almost like red herrings out there.
It's probably one of those things too, where like, I mean, it must have been the Loki TV series that kind of created it because he, what happened there. So it's also one of these things like, I mean, Marvel's really good at doing trailers where it looks like, oh, I kind of know what's going to happen. And then it's not the movie at all. And
right. And we, that'll be one of the No Way Home conversations that we had in the Marvel episode. That'll be good for you on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think that this disappointed, but do you think that this trailer was so anticipated? Do you think that demand has been satiated?
I would think so. I mean, just getting anything. Everybody was complaining because we haven't seen anything. We were getting all the other movies. I liked it. I like I like the idea of what is going to happen. This thing of, everybody forgetting that he's Peter Parker, Spider-Man's Peter Parker. I think that'll be interesting. Yeah. I like all the, like, obviously there's a bunch of different suits. That's fun. That's
a thing. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, this feels like the change in direction. What we talk about, these movies where they, somebody, not necessarily, you can't replace Robert Downey Jr. That's just not, that's just not going to happen. But this is where we're going now. It's a Spider-Man thing, which is what Marvel, I mean, that's Marvel. If you try to make other characters more important than Spider-Man, it has to be somebody like Robert Downey Jr. doing his thing and them doing that thing, which really worked. And, Tom Holland's obviously, he's been in 5 of these. And so it's like,
this will be 6.
This will be 6. Yeah, so it's like, it's crazy how many he's been in. And now we're finally, this seems like the turn of like, oh, Spider-Man's going to be the thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's provided that Marvel and Sony still play nicely with one another.
Right. Well, as long as these movies make a gajillion dollars, then
yeah.
Where it's at.
I saw that this was the most watched trailer. It surpassed Endgame. Do you think that we would have gotten this trailer this week had there not been that leak?
No.
I don't think so either. Do you know what I think the bad thing about this being so hyped up and so anticipated and everything? I think that's bad news for Shang-Chi, and I think it's bad news for the Eternals. Because now this is all anybody's going to care about. I definitely think that this is bad news for the Eternals.
It's definitely, I would say, I don't know if it's as bad news for Shang-Chi because it's getting really good reviews. And it's like I said when we talked about the movies too, is like it could have like not to the extent the Black Panther, but it has that Black Panther effect of we're doing something different that isn't a character that people know that well. Yeah. The Eternals is nobody knows anything about them. There is this thing with me, and we talk about with the Marvel pod, is people are just going to go see Marvel movies, and it just happened that the Black Widow just happened at a really crappy time. I had nothing to do with.
Well, I think that Shang-Chi's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to have a crappy time too. So I think the thing with Spider-Man, I'll be interested to see, obviously, hopefully things are much better than they are at that time around Christmas for people to go and see movies. I mean, I will see, I I will see these movies in theaters,
Yeah.
including the Eternals. I will see
So
all
will
of them
I.
in theaters.
Well, yeah.
And I actually like, even though I've been up and down with the Eternals, it's going to be an important movie. I think whether it's something that's exciting, it'll be important in the way where we're going from here on out.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer reaction will go up in video form with the on YouTube at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Friday. But we'll move on to some of these other things. Despite reports that Venom 2 will be delayed into 2022, Sony has come out and said it will not, in fact, be delayed.
Good. I still need to see the original Venom. I keep forgetting about it. Maybe it'll be this week where I don't have to watch Marvel movies. And
so
I'll
you'll watch a Marvel movie?
So I'll watch a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
That is not a Marvel movie. Not one I've seen already. Let's put it that way.
Right. So the thing with that is, and I think we'll coordinate on that, and sometime we'll do a Venom retro review.
Yeah.
But the thing that I didn't think about until I saw this was that if things continue to go sideways, Spider-Man could get delayed, and Disney won't have a say in the matter because Sony owns the distribution rights.
That's right.
That's why we didn't get the trailer for so long.
That's right. Yep. I forget about how they
Sony was holding it.
Yeah.
Yep. Ironheart will make her MCU debut in Black Panther 2: Wakanda Forever.
Cool.
So this is not a character that I have a ton of history with.
No, I don't. I know of the character. I think I've have seen Ironheart, but I don't know much.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting, I'm sure. Next year for
2016 is when Ironheart made the debut. So
okay.
Past my prime of reading things.
Past my prime in general. It'll be 2 years before we get Loki season 2.
That makes sense because we're gonna have all these movies. Yeah,
exactly. The artist formerly known as Slave One, Boba Fett's ship, has officially gotten a new name, Fire Spray, which is notable because the ship class is the Fire Spray ship class, much like the Falcon is a Corellia.
Yeah.
It's like it's like calling it it's like it's a Chevy. It's like, well, what's it called? What's it called? Chevy.
Chevy. They should have called it a Chevy.
It just burns me with hate.
I know.
That whole thing just burns me with hate. It fire sprays me with hate. Sure does.
I was going to say something else, but I won't. So we'll move on.
Horizon Forbidden West got a release. I'm not sure if it got an official date, but it was definitely February of 2022. So it has officially been pushed out of this year. And
official releases.
Bummer. It's a bummer because
you thought you were going to get this year.
Nothing to play on the PS5 this year.
Oh, that's right. There is still nothing.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Well, take your time.
Yeah.
Delays are never a bad thing.
Right. Make good games.
Delays are never a bad thing. And all I have to say is Cyberpunk.
Right. So, that's all you need.
Elon Musk says that Tesla will release killer robots, humanoid robots, as early as next year. And they look an awful lot like the robots from the Mitchells versus the Machines. Like
they really do. It's terrifying. Yes. I watched a video of it.
He said they most likely will be able to be overpowered.
Most likely. Not the term I want to hear.
No.
And by overpowered by like what?
Yeah.
A 5'9", 135-pound man?
Right.
Or like the Rock? Because there's a difference between the strength that I possess and the Rock strength.
Right. Yes, 100%.
I'm sinewy strong, but if this is a metal robot that runs on, electricity, there may be a problem.
Or solar power.
They should just name these things like Karen. So we get mad at it. We were like, these damn Karens.
I don't want this.
Nobody wants this.
I don't want this. This is not
terrifying. But if it makes Tesla's stock go up, I'd be all right with that.
The first images for Netflix's live action Cowboy Bebop have been revealed, and I couldn't be more disinterested.
Well, Doggo at least.
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm the Welsh corgi.
That's all I care about.
Phenomenal. But this
I
isn't
love
gonna this
little
isn't
peach butt corgi.
not gonna be
Go
good.
guys.
Kanye West files to officially change his name to Ye.
Yay.
I couldn't. This dude, man.
Remember when he was the best rapper? It's been a while.
Well, I'll tell you what is.
Remember when he was interesting? It's been a while.
Apparently, his new thing that's coming out is great.
Yeah, apparently.
I have inside information on that. Somebody's heard it that we both know. So, wow. And he says that it's awesome.
Okay.
So maybe that person will join us for a conversation.
I hope so.
See. I can tell you he needs no intro.
No, he does not need one.
Correct.
That's cool that he's heard it.
I don't know how. I don't know how, or like what the circumstances there are, but you're probably right. Lawrence Fishburne confirms that he will not be back as Morpheus in the Matrix 4, which also has an official title, Matrix Resurrection. I like Keanu, but I just want Keanu making John Wick movies, so that's all I really care about. Yeah, this is one of those things that the Matrix 2 was so bad that I never saw the third one.
I fell asleep during the third one.
Yeah, okay. So this is if it's anything, you just almost have to judge it just like on its own at this point.
Yeah. It's a standalone.
Yeah. In high thespian news, Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista will be making a buddy cop movie, and I'm sure that it will receive no higher than a 38 on Rotten Tomatoes.
I was gonna say it will receive no lower than 15 Oscar nominations.
That as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they are, the De Niro and the Pacino of their time.
They really are. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. It's incredible.
Yeah. It's amazing
in a movie together that
be like
will probably make $100 million.
$100 million? That's not that much.
First, for the fact that these guys can't act.
Yeah.
At all. They can't act their way out of the paper.
It'll probably make like $500 million.
It probably will actually make $500 million.
It'll have a budget it'll have a budget of like 125 million or 170 million, and it'll make here's the thing is it'll make a lot of money because people like Jason Momoa because he's a legitimately cool dude.
Yes, he is a cool dude. And he kind of gets it.
Yeah. Like he knows.
I don't know if Dave Bautista gets it.
No, I don't think he does.
Yeah.
Like he talks like he's like the big swinging dick in the room, and he's not.
No.
Like when it comes to like, I'm never going to be Drax again because I'm going to be Marcus Phoenix in a Gears of War movie. It's like, nobody fucking cares, Dave.
Nobody cares, Dave.
Like nobody comes to see Guardians for you, homie.
Nope. People don't lose their mind when Drax comes on screen.
Well,
I hope
he is funny.
He is funny.
He's funny. We've said this though, he's funny because the character requires the actor to be a shitty actor.
Right.
It's not like the character's supposed to be like wooden.
Right.
I'll tell you what, do you know who would have played a great Drax? Hayden Christensen.
Oh my God. He just would have had at the weight room, but
yeah. They can bulk up.
Yeah. Steroids.
Whatever it is. Media recommendations. I did have the higher ground. Media recommended it. Do you know what you don't want? You don't want wolves.
You don't want wolves in the higher ground.
No,
that is for sure. No, that's bad. So doing some lighter reading, because when you're watching all these Marvel movies, you need something not heavy. So I'm reading Cobble Hill right now. It's the same author who wrote Gossip Girl. Cecily Von Ziegstar. It's like it's essentially an adult version of Gossip Girl. It's these people in their like 30s and 40s, and their kids are involved and stuff. It's very funny. It's way funnier than I was expecting. So I recommend it. It's fun and silly. It's nothing too heavy. At least almost 3/4 of the way through, nothing like crazy has happened. So I like it. If you just kind of like that kind of stuff, like we mentioned, Sturgill Simpson, Lorde, The Killers. Also, Dead and Company concerts are back, and they're starting to show up on the YouTube. So I'm watching Dead and Company concerts, getting myself prepped and ready for my Dead and Company concert here in October. So It's been cool. It's been chilling.
I recommend that Sturgill Simpson album. What's it called?
The Ballad of Dude and Juanita.
Yeah, that. I played and platinumed Reverie, which is the first game from Rainbite Studios, the team that made Trigger Witch. So
yeah,
I wanted to just kind of like show some support for that indie team, and went back and bought that game and played it. It's quick. I beat it. I platinumed it in like 6 hours. So
nice.
I'm 5.5. So here's the real cool thing is that in September 4th, I've referred to them a lot on this show. Colin Moriarty, he has the biggest PlayStation podcast in the world in terms of like total downloads and stuff like that. And he has like a whole network, a podcasting network called Last Stand Media. And like what's really weird is that the executive producer and one of the associate producers are from Butler, Pennsylvania, which is 20 minutes away from me.
That's cool.
They're doing a live show called The Greatest Games of All Time. And it's going to be a 3-hour live show, like a town hall, and they're having it in Butler. And it's sold out in 25 minutes. But
yeah, sure.
Tickets opened up and I was able to get one. So not this Saturday, but next Saturday I'll be at that live show. So if you're one of the people that listens for that, you can look out for me because I'll be there in Butler, Pennsylvania, at the town hall for The Greatest Games of All Time. Looking forward to it. So next week's going to be a busy weekend because we got that, and I got that, and I'm going to have to find time to go see Shang-Chi as well.
Yeah, it's going to be Shang-Chi. I'll have to wait. I probably won't see that when I'm in Miami. So I'll have to wait. Yeah. I'll see it before we have our pod, but I don't know. Maybe there'll be like a 3-hour thunderstorm and then I'll go watch it somewhere in Miami.
There you go. Yeah. So you got that coming up too. Yeah. I forgot about that. Next weekend. When do you leave?
Saturday morning next week.
Okay.
But I'll actually be in LA the week before. So yeah. Okay. Or the day before. I'm sorry. The day before. I don't know how to speak at this point. Yeah.
Well, you know.
Yeah. Just BXG, 3 days, just the weekend. It's not a big trip, but
BXG podcast publishes every Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. Pacific Time, 4 a.m. Hawaiian time.
Aloha.
On social media, our podcast services around the globe. Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods app. We're on there. That's new.
Good Pods.
Yep. I have it on my phone.
I like that.
And the Good Pods app. Amazon, Spotify, Apple, you name it, we're there. Social media is facebook.com/BXG podcast, Instagram at BXG podcast, at GTFills, at Y2B, Twitter at BXG podcast, at GT Philson, at Y2B for the social medias. The YouTube channel where we will have Spider-Man No Way Home reaction trailer, What If, the challenge, who knows what else will pop up on there. It's different. It's some of the mainstays. We do kind of an a la carte thing here. You know what I mean?
We do. Yeah.
It's, you come for the what if, you stay for the challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe you come for the challenge and you stay for the what if.
Be great if you came for the challenge and stay for the what if. Just like if you're in on the challenge, then I really respect it.
Then
I really do.
Yeah, because that's what we're about. You know, it's America's fourth major professional sport.
It really is. It's the best.
Tell your friends, tell your families,
tell your mothers
about the unmistakable essence of the BXG podcast.
Thanks for listening.
Take care, friends.
Bye, guys.